Montana Territory, 1873. Winter had come early to the Bitterroot Mountains, blanketing the rugged peaks in a shroud of white that gleamed like silver in the fading daylight. Adam Dawson hunched forward in his saddle, his 25-year-old frame aching from days on horseback, his thin canvas coat doing little against the biting wind. The cattle drive had ended badly, stampede, losses, men injured, and now he rode alone, separated from what remained of the outfit during the sudden blizzard. "Just you and me now, Shadow," he murmured to his black gelding. The horse's ears flicked backward at the sound of his voice, then forward again toward the trail ahead. Adam had learned young that a man survived the frontier by relying on himself alone. His father's hanging at the hands of cattle rustlers when Adam was 12 had cemented this belief. The image of his father swinging from that cottonwood still visited his dreams. At 16, he'd ridden out, determined that attachment only led to pain. Trust no one, need no one, love no one. These were the rules he lived by. The frontier was harsh, unforgiving, and it broke those who dared to soften. Yet in quiet moments around campfires with other drovers, hearing tales of homesteads and families, Adam sometimes felt a hollow ache in his chest. He'd convinced himself he wanted only independence, enough money for his own spread someday, where he could live unbeholden to any man. But deeper lay an unacknowledged truth. The loneliness of the trail had begun to wear on his soul. The snowfall intensified, great heavy flakes obscuring the path ahead. Shadow stumbled, regained his footing, and snorted anxiously. "Easy, boy," Adam soothed, though worry gnawed at him. The temperature was dropping rapidly, and he knew what that meant in mountain country. Men froze to death in such conditions, their bodies not found until the spring thaw, if ever. As darkness thickened around him, Adam spotted a flicker of light through the trees, steady, not the moving glow of another traveler's lantern, but fixed. A cabin, perhaps. He hesitated. Strangers could mean danger out here, but the alternative was freezing to death. "Come on, Shadow. Let's take our chances." The cabin emerged from the gloom as he approached, small but sturdy, chimney puffing smoke into the night sky. A covered lean-to sheltered firewood stacked nearly to the roof. Someone who knew mountain winters lived here. Before Adam could dismount, the cabin door swung open. Framed in golden lamplight stood a young woman, a rifle held confidently in her hands. Her dark chestnut hair caught the light behind her, giving her the appearance of being wreathed in flame. "State your business, stranger," she called, voice clear and steady despite the howling wind. Adam raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. "Just a cowboy caught in the storm, ma'am. Looking for shelter until it passes." She studied him for a long moment, rifle unwavering. Finally, she nodded once. "Stables around back. See to your horse, then come inside." Adam led Shadow to the small but well-built stable. Inside, he found a sturdy mountain pony watching him curiously. He removed Shadow's tack, rubbed him down with straw, and ensured both animals had feed and water. Only then did he retrieve his saddlebags and trudge back through deepening snow to the cabin door. The woman opened at his knock, standing aside to let him enter. In the lamplight, he could see her properly now, 20 years old at most, with eyes the color of spring violets. Her chestnut hair was pulled back in a practical braid, and she wore a simple blue calico dress beneath a wool shawl. Despite the practical attire, there was an undeniable beauty to her features, high cheekbones, determined chin, and a natural grace to her movements. "Josie Lawson," she said simply, extending her hand. "Adam Dawson." He took her hand, surprised by its strength. "I'm grateful for the shelter, Miss Lawson. Tonight, you'll rest under my roof," said the mountain woman to the cowboy. "But come daylight, you'll be on your way. I don't much care for unexpected company." Adam nodded, understanding her wariness. A woman alone in the wilderness had reason to be cautious. "Fair enough. I'll be gone at first light, storm permitting." She gestured to a chair near the stone fireplace. "Sit. You look half frozen." The cabin was simple but meticulously kept. A bed stood in one corner, a table and chairs in another. Shelves lined with preserved goods and books covered one wall. A spinning wheel and loom occupied another corner. This was no temporary shelter, but a permanent home. Josie ladled stew from a pot hanging over the fire into a bowl and handed it to him without ceremony. "Eat." The rich scent of venison and root vegetables made his stomach growl embarrassingly. He hadn't had a proper meal in days. Thank you. While he ate, Josie busied herself with small tasks, keeping the table between them. Her movements were efficient, practiced. This was clearly a woman accustomed to fending for herself. You live here alone? Adam asked, immediately regretting the question when her eyes narrowed. That's not your concern. He raised a hand in apology. You're right. I meant no offense. After a moment, her shoulders relaxed slightly. Yes, I live alone. Have for 2 years now. That's unusual for these parts. Most women in the territory lived with family or husbands. The frontier was considered too dangerous for a woman alone. I manage, she said simply. My father built this place. Taught me everything I needed to know before the consumption took him. Adam nodded, understanding in her words what she hadn't said aloud. She was defending her inheritance, her independence. He respected that. The fire crackled between them as the wind howled outside, rattling the shutters. For all its ferocity, the storm had brought an unexpected respite from the loneliness of the trail. Though they sat in near silence, there was something comforting about another human presence. That night, Josie insisted Adam take a pallet on the floor while she slept in her bed, rifle within reach. Trust was clearly not something she gave easily. As he drifted to sleep, lulled by the warmth of the fire and the sound of her steady breathing, Adam wondered about the story behind the solitary mountain woman. Morning brought no reprieve from the storm. If anything, it had intensified overnight. Adam peered through frost-rimed windows at a world transformed into white oblivion. You won't be leaving today, Josie observed, matter-of-factly, as she stoked the fire. Not unless you've a mind to freeze to death. I don't want to impose. It's not imposing if I've no choice but to offer, she replied. Besides, an extra pair of hands might be useful. The north roof will need clearing before the snow gets too heavy. They settled into an uneasy truce, working side by side throughout the day. Adam cleared snow from the roof and chopped firewood until his arms ached, while Josie tended to indoor tasks and her small stock of animals. Chickens and goats kept in a sheltered pen attached to the stable. By evening, Adam's labor had earned him a different kind of welcome. Josie's wariness remained, but she spoke more freely over their meal of rabbit stew. You're handy with an axe for a cowboy, she observed. Grew up on a small ranch in Wyoming. Did all manner of work before taking to the cattle trails. What brought you to these mountains? Cattle don't usually come this way. Adam explained about the drive gone wrong, the stampede caused by a lightning strike that had scattered the herd across 3 counties. Boss sent us to round up what we could. I was tracking strays when the storm hit. Foolish to be in these mountains so late in the season, she said, but without condemnation. Wasn't my decision. Adam shrugged. I go where the work takes me. No place to call home. There was curiosity in her question, not pity. Not for a long while. He hesitated, then added, safer that way. Something flickered in her violet eyes. Recognition, perhaps. Yes, she said softly. I suppose it is. As days passed and the storm showed no signs of abating, Adam and Josie fell into a routine. They worked alongside each other during daylight hours, maintaining the cabin against winter's assault. In the evenings, the reserve between them gradually thawed like icicles in weak sunlight. On the 4th night, as they sat before the fire, Josie revealed more of her story. Her father had been a fur trapper who'd built this cabin as a base for his expeditions. When her mother died in childbirth, he'd raised Josie alone, teaching her to hunt, trap, and survive in the mountains. Most folks expected him to send me east to relatives after Mother died, she said, fingers working deftly at her knitting. Or to find me a husband when I came of age. He did neither. Said I had a right to choose my own path. He sounds like a wise man. He was. When he fell ill, men started circling like vultures, offering marriage but eyeing our land, our traps, our hunting grounds. Her voice hardened. One in particular, Henry Keller, owner of the mining operation down in the valley. He decided I was part of my father's property to be claimed. Adam felt a surge of anger on her behalf. What happened? A small, fierce smile played at her lips. He came calling after the funeral. Said a woman couldn't survive alone in the mountains, that I needed protection. I showed him the business end of my father's rifle and suggested he protect himself by leaving immediately. Adam couldn't help his laugh. I imagine that cooled his interest. Not entirely. Her smile faded. He's persistent. Sends men up occasionally to check on me. Make offers. I've made it clear I'm not interested, but... She shrugged. Men like Keller don't easily accept being denied what they want. Adam understood then why she had been so wary of his arrival. A strange man appearing during a storm might well have been one of Keller's men. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I think your father would be proud of how you've managed. Something softened in her expression. Thank you. That night, as Adam lay on his pallet near the fire, he found himself unsettled by Josie's story. He'd spent years convincing himself that connections were dangerous, that a man survived longest by staying unattached. Yet here was this woman, fiercely guarding her independence while simultaneously longing for the connection she'd lost when her father died. The contradiction stirred something in him he'd long suppressed, a yearning for something more than just survival. The storm finally broke on the 6th day, leaving behind a crystalline landscape bathed in brilliant sunshine. Adam knew he should leave. He'd promised as much, yet found himself reluctant as he saddled Shadow. There's a settlement about 15 miles southeast, Josie told him, standing in the stable doorway. Bitterroot Crossing. You might find work there until spring, if you've a mind to stay in the territory. Adam nodded, tightening Shadow's cinch. I might do that. An awkward silence fell between them. Finally, Adam turned to face her. I want to thank you, Miss Lawson. Not just for the shelter, but for the company. Josie, she corrected softly. After a week under the same roof, I think we can dispense with formalities. Josie, he repeated, liking the way it felt on his tongue. I'm in your debt. No debt between us, she said firmly. You worked hard while you were here. Another silence, heavier than the last. Adam knew he should mount up and ride out, yet couldn't quite make himself do it. If you're ever passing this way again, Josie finally said, you'd be welcome to stop. The simple statement warmed him more than it should have. I'd like that. As he rode away, Adam found himself looking back more than once at the cabin growing smaller in the distance. For the first time in years, he felt a pull to return somewhere, to someone. The sensation was as frightening as it was exhilarating. Winter settled hard over the mountains, but Adam found work at the livery in Bitterroot Crossing, breaking horses and helping the aging owner maintain the business. The small settlement served miners, trappers, and the occasional soldier from the nearby fort. Adam learned that Josie was something of a local legend. The mountain woman, they called her, with equal parts respect and wariness. Strange one, that Josie Lawson. The livery owner, old Sam Tucker, told him. Pretty as a picture, but fierce as a mama bear. Brings in pelts better than most men, trades fair. Keeps to herself mostly. Adam found himself defending her. Seems sensible enough to me. Woman alone needs to be cautious. Oh, ain't criticizing, Sam assured him. Just unusual is all. That Keller fellow from the mining company's been sweet on her since her pa died, but she won't give him the time of day. Some say he's not taking the rejection kindly. This information unsettled Adam. He'd seen Keller in town, a heavy-set man in his 40s with cold eyes and expensive clothes. The type used to getting his way, by any means necessary. As winter deepened, Adam found his thoughts drifting off into the cabin in the mountains and its solitary inhabitant. He told himself it was merely concern for her welfare. Facing the harsh season alone was dangerous for anyone. But when he dreamed, it was of violet eyes and chestnut hair caught in firelight. February brought a brief thaw, and with it, Adam's decision. Loading Shadow with supplies. He told Sam he'd be gone for a few days. Checking on the mountain woman. Are you? The old man asked with a knowing look. Just being neighborly, Adam replied, ignoring Sam's chuckle. The journey took longer than expected, deep snow making the trail treacherous in places. By the time the cabin came into view, dusk was falling. Smoke rose reassuringly from the chimney, and lamplight glowed in the windows. Before Adam could call out, the door swung open and Josie appeared, rifle in hand. When she recognized him, surprise flickered across her face, followed by something that looked remarkably like pleasure. Adam Dawson, she said, lowering the rifle. I didn't expect to see you again. I brought supplies, he explained, dismounting. Thought you might be running low by now. She raised an eyebrow. I managed just fine. Never doubted it. He smiled. Consider it repayment for your hospitality during the storm. Josie studied him for a moment, then nodded. You'd better come in then. It'll be dark soon. The cabin was as he remembered, though with new pelts drying on frames and jars of preserved goods lining the shelves. After caring for Shadow, Adam brought in the supplies: coffee, sugar, salt, ammunition, and other necessities that were difficult to come by in deep winter. "You didn't need to do this," Josie said, but her tone had softened. "Wanted to," Adam replied simply. Over a meal of venison and preserved vegetables, they exchanged news. Adam told her about his work at the livery, while Josie spoke of her trapping successes. The conversation flowed easier than it had during his first stay, as if the months apart had somehow brought them closer rather than further apart. "I've seen Keller in town," Adam said finally, broaching the subject that had been concerning him. "Heard he's still pursuing you." Josie's expression hardened. "He sent men up here at Christmas, bearing gifts and another marriage proposal." "What did you do?" "Sent them back with the gifts and a message that my answer remained the same." She shrugged, but tension lingered in her shoulders. "He'll tire of the game eventually." Adam wasn't so sure. Men like Keller rarely accepted defeat, especially when their pride was involved. But he kept this thought to himself. The evening stretched long, neither seeming eager to end it. Finally, Josie asked the question that hung between them. "Why did you really come back, Adam?" He could have offered many answers: concern for her safety, gratitude for her previous help, the convenience of checking on her while the weather allowed. All would have been partially true. Instead, he found himself speaking a deeper truth. "I couldn't stop thinking about you." The words hung in the air between them. Josie's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't look away. "That's dangerous thinking," she said softly. "I know." And he did. Every instinct honed since his father's death warned against the vulnerability of caring. Yet here he was. "I've built this life carefully," Josie continued. "On my terms. I'm not suggesting you need anything," Adam interrupted gently. "Least of all me." A log shifted in the fireplace, sending sparks dancing upward. In their light, Josie's face showed conflict, wariness warring with longing. "I should go to bed," she said finally, rising. "You can take the pallet by the fire again." Adam nodded, accepting her retreat. "Good night, Josie." Morning brought a clear sky and a tacit agreement not to revisit the previous night's conversation. Adam helped with chores around the cabin, and when Josie mentioned checking her trap lines, he offered to accompany her. They snowshoed through pristine forest, Josie moving with the confidence of someone who knew every tree and rock. At each trap, she worked efficiently, retrieving caught animals, resetting empty traps. Adam observed and assisted where needed, impressed by her skill. "My father said I had a gift for placing traps," Josie explained as they approached a frozen stream. "Said I could think like the animals, know where they'd pass." "He taught you well." "He did." A shadow crossed her face. "Sometimes I miss having someone to talk to, though. Someone who understands this life." Before Adam could respond, the crack of a rifle shot echoed through the trees. Splinters flew from a trunk inches from Josie's head. "Get down," Adam shouted, pulling her behind a fallen log as a second shot rang out. "Keller's men," Josie hissed, eyes flashing with anger rather than fear. "How do you know?" "Been expecting something like this." She unslung her rifle. "He's decided if he can't have me willingly, he'll force my hand." Adam peered cautiously over the log. "I count 3 of them, coming from the east." "There's a rocky outcrop about 50 yards south," Josie said. "Better cover than this." They made a dash for it, bullets kicking up snow around them. From the relative safety of the rocks, they returned fire, forcing their attackers to seek cover. "They'll try to flank us," Adam warned, counting his remaining ammunition. "There's a hunter's cabin about a mile west," Josie said. "If we can reach it, we'll have better position and more ammunition. I keep supplies there." Adam nodded. "I'll cover you. On my signal, run. Don't stop, don't look back." "I'm not leaving you here," she protested. "Not asking you to. I'll be right behind you. Trust me, Josie." Their eyes met, and Adam saw the moment she made her decision. She nodded once. Adam fired rapidly, forcing their attackers to duck. Now, Josie sprinted westward, moving swiftly despite the deep snow. Adam continued firing until she had a good lead, then followed, zigzagging to present a difficult target. Bullets whined past, but none found their mark. The hunter's cabin was little more than a crude shelter, but its stone walls offered protection. Inside, Josie retrieved a cache of ammunition and a second rifle. They'll be careful now they know we're both armed, Adam said, watching through a narrow window as their pursuers approached cautiously. Good, Josie replied grimly. I want them to take a message back to Keller. The standoff continued through the afternoon. The attackers tried twice to rush the cabin, but precise fire from Adam and Josie drove them back, with one man wounded. As dusk approached, the remaining men retreated, dragging their injured companion. Adam and Josie waited until full dark before cautiously emerging. They might circle back, Adam warned. Not tonight, Josie said confidently. Not with a wounded man in this cold. They'll head down mountain. They returned to the main cabin by a circuitous route, alert for any signs of ambush. Once safely inside, Josie stoked the fire while Adam secured the shutters and door. This isn't over, Adam said, watching her hands tremble slightly as she worked. Keller won't stop now. I know. She straightened, facing him. But neither will I. This is my home, my life. I won't be driven from it. You shouldn't have to face this alone. Something fierce and vulnerable flashed across her face. Are you offering to stay, Cowboy? The question laid bare what had been building between them since his return. Adam knew his answer would change everything, for both of them. If you'll have me, he said simply. Josie moved toward him slowly, as if giving herself time to reconsider. When she stood before him, she looked up, violet eyes searching his face. I've been alone a long time, she said softly. By choice. I know how to be alone. I know. Adam resisted the urge to touch her. So have I. It's safer that way. Is it? He asked. Today made me wonder. A small smile touched her lips. You saved my life. And you mine, he reminded her. We're better together, Josie. Stronger. Her hand rose to his face, fingers light against his jaw. This changes everything. Only if we let it. When she kissed him, it was like coming home to a place he'd never been. Unfamiliar, yet perfectly right. Her lips were soft but insistent, her body fitting against his as though designed for it. Adam pulled her closer, years of carefully maintained distance crumbling beneath the weight of newfound connection. That night changed everything indeed. In the firelight, they discovered each other slowly, reverently. Josie's chestnut hair spilled across the pillows like liquid copper, her skin pale gold against the dark furs. Adam traced the contours of her body with gentle hands, memorizing every curve and plane. Their coming together was both surrender and claiming, a mutual recognition that the walls they'd built for protection had become prisons instead. Afterward, lying wrapped in each other's arms, Adam told her the full story of his father's death, the guilt he still carried for not being able to prevent it, the fear that had driven him to avoid connection ever since. I convinced myself that caring for anyone was just inviting pain, he admitted. That a man survived best on his own. I told myself the same, Josie said, fingers tracing patterns on his chest. After father died, I thought I needed no one. And now, she raised herself on one elbow, looking down at him with clear eyes. Now I think perhaps we were both wrong. Perhaps the frontier doesn't make us choose between survival and connection. Perhaps they're the same thing. Adam pulled her down for another kiss, marveling at how this woman had so quickly dismantled beliefs he'd held for over a decade. The peace couldn't last, of course. Adam and Josie both knew Keller would respond to the failure of his men with escalation. They spent the next days preparing, securing the cabin, establishing escape routes, preparing for the worst. We should go to the sheriff, Adam suggested. Josie shook her head. Sheriff Benton owes his position to Keller's influence. He won't help us. Then we need to get proof of what Keller's doing. Something that would force the territorial governor to take notice. An opportunity came sooner than expected. While checking traps farther down the mountain, they encountered one of Keller's wounded men, abandoned by his companions and near death from exposure. They brought him back to the cabin, where Josie treated his injuries. The man, delirious with fever, revealed Keller's full plan, to drive Josie from her land or kill her if necessary, making it look like an accident. The land, it seemed, contained a rich copper deposit that Keller had discovered during exploratory mining. Josie's refusal to sell stood between him and a fortune. He paid us to scare you. The man confessed, said no one would question a woman alone dying in these mountains. But killing wasn't part of my agreement. Adam and Josie exchanged glances. Here was the evidence they needed. If they could get the man to Fort Missoula where the territorial authorities would hear his testimony. Before they could formulate a plan, disaster struck. Returning from checking the animals one morning, Adam found the cabin surrounded by Keller himself and 6 armed men. Josie stood on the porch, rifle raised but hopelessly outnumbered. "There he is," Keller called, his fleshy face red with cold and anger. "The squatter who's been trespassing on Lawson land." Adam moved slowly toward Josie, hands visible. "What's happening?" "Mr. Keller claims to have documentation proving he purchased this property from my father before his death," Josie said, voice tight with fury. "He's demanding we leave immediately." "The papers are quite in order," Keller said smugly. "Sheriff Benton has verified them himself." Adam understood immediately. Forged documents, a corrupt sheriff. It was a common enough scheme in the territories. His hand inched toward his sidearm. "I wouldn't," warned one of Keller's men, raising his rifle. Keller stepped forward. "I've been more than patient with you, Josie. Offered marriage. Offered to let you stay on as my wife. But your stubbornness has exhausted my goodwill. These are false claims and you know it," Josie spat. "Perhaps," Keller shrugged. "But who will contest them? A woman alone has little standing in court. And your friend here won't be helping. He'll be hanging for murder." Adam stiffened. "What murder?" "Why, the unfortunate killing of my associate who disappeared while delivering my last offer to Miss Lawson." Keller's smile was cold. "His body was discovered this morning. Most tragic. It was a trap, neatly sprung. The wounded man who'd confessed, likely already dead, his body planted as evidence against Adam. With Josie's reputation as a recluse and Adam's status as a drifter, few would question the story. "You won't get away with this," Adam said, mind racing for a solution. "I already have, Mr. Dawson." Keller gestured to his men. "Take him." What happened next unfolded in heartbeats. As the men moved forward, Josie fired, not at them, but at a stack of firewood beside the cabin. The logs crashed down, creating momentary confusion. Adam drew and fired in the same instant, hitting one of Keller's men in the shoulder. "The stable," Josie shouted, already running. They made it inside, bullets splintering the wood around them. While Josie saddled her mountain pony, Adam created a barricade at the door. "Where's the wounded man?" he asked urgently. "Hidden in the root cellar," Josie replied. "They won't find him easily. We need to reach Fort Missoula. It's our only chance." Josie nodded grimly. "There's a back trail. Dangerous in winter, but Keller's men won't know it." They burst from the stable on horseback, racing for the tree line as bullets kicked up snow around them. Adam felt a searing pain in his side, but kept riding, focused only on keeping pace with Josie as she led them onto a narrow trail that clung to the mountainside. The path was treacherous, barely wide enough for the horses, with a sheer drop to one side. Snow and ice made footing uncertain, but Josie's pony moved with sure steps, and Shadow followed gamely. "They won't follow us here," Josie called back. "Too dangerous unless you know the way." Adam nodded, pressing a hand to his side where blood had begun to seep through his coat. The wound wasn't immediately life-threatening, but blood loss in this cold could quickly become fatal. Josie noticed his pallor when they paused to rest the horses. "You're hit." "Just grazed," Adam lied. "I'll manage." She wasn't fooled. Dismounting, she helped him from his saddle and examined the wound. "Bullets still in there. We need to get you to a doctor." "Fort first," Adam insisted. "With Keller's influence, it's our only chance." Josie's face was drawn with worry, but she nodded. After bandaging him as best she could, they continued, slower now, with Adam fighting to stay conscious through waves of pain. The journey took 2 days, 2 days of bitter cold, cautious travel, and Adam's steadily worsening condition. By the time the fort came into view, he was feverish, barely able to stay in the saddle. The fort surgeon extracted the bullet and treated the wound, but infection had set in. For days, Adam drifted between consciousness and delirium, aware sometimes of Josie's presence at his bedside, her hand cool against his burning forehead. In his lucid moments, he learned that the territorial marshal had taken their story seriously, especially after Josie led a patrol back to the cabin to retrieve their witness. Keller had been arrested, along with Sheriff Benton. The forged documents had been discovered, along with evidence of multiple attempts to drive Josie from her land by force. "You're safe now," Adam murmured during one such moment. "Your home is secure." Josie's violet eyes were dark with exhaustion, but she smiled. Our home, Adam, if you still want it to be. Despite the pain, warmth spread through his chest. More than anything, recovery was slow. Spring had begun to thaw the mountains by the time Adam was strong enough to travel. The trial was brief. Keller's schemes had affected others in the territory, and witnesses came forward once the intimidation was removed. He and Benton received long sentences to be served in the territorial prison. Adam and Josie married at the fort, a simple ceremony witnessed by soldiers and the few townspeople who had always treated Josie fairly. The territorial governor himself, grateful for the exposure of corruption, officiated. Never thought I'd wear a dress again, Josie whispered as they exchanged vows, resplendent in a borrowed blue gown that matched her eyes. You're beautiful, Adam told her. But I'd have married you in buckskins and carrying a rifle. That's tomorrow, she promised with a laugh. Their return to the cabin was a homecoming in the truest sense. Together they repaired the damage from Keller's attack, expanded the stable, and planted a larger garden than Josie had managed alone. When summer came, they added a room to the cabin. For the future, Josie said with a meaningful smile that made Adam's heart race. On cool evenings, they sat together on the porch, watching the sun set behind the mountains. Sometimes they spoke of the beliefs that had kept them isolated for so long. The false conviction that connection meant vulnerability, that love was a luxury the frontier didn't allow. I thought I was protecting myself, Adam reflected one such evening, his arm around Josie as she leaned against him. But I was just ensuring I'd face every danger alone. We were both wrong, Josie agreed, taking his hand and placing it over her stomach, where their child had just begun to show. The frontier doesn't demand we choose between survival and love. It shows us we need both. As twilight deepened into night, Adam Dawson looked at the woman beside him, the home they'd built, and the future growing within her. He'd spent years believing that attachments were dangerous, that a man survived longest by remaining alone. Now he understood the truth. It wasn't solitude that had saved him in the end, but the connection he'd feared for so long. In Josie's arms, beneath the roof they shared, Adam had found not just shelter from a storm, but a place his wandering heart could finally call home.